can tell you is that this meeting is being recorded. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a former or current active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. However, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, we welcome you to apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, attendees, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role, or if you're a guest, just hover over your video, right-click, and select Rename to do so. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video and audio contribution may be used for our club marketing purposes. Our VP of Education is sitting in for our President, Marianne Grady, who has the night off. Please help me welcome DTM Joni Renee Laidlaw to the virtual stage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Sergeant at Arms, for such a lovely welcome. What makes you elated? That's a very good question, and we will be finding that out. But as the Vice President of Education, I do have to say, a lot of us are doubling up on roles today, and I'm asking, and I know I'm speaking to the choir because you're here, but for those watching on the recording, sign up for roles, sign up for roles, sign up for roles. We have a goal, we all agreed, we have our education awards that we want to hit, and there's no way for you to finish a level if you don't give a speech. So I look forward. Also, in way of announcements, next week we are having an education feature. We're an online club. It's online presenters. PowerPoint, that's used by a lot of us when we're giving our presentation. We'll be having tips and tricks from a Microsoft certified. See, it's not just a regular Toastmaster giving us the tips. This is somebody who got trained, and you'll be amazed at all the things you didn't know that you could use with PowerPoint. So I look forward to seeing everyone next week ready and prepared to learn how to take PowerPoint to the next level. Now, this is a lady who I'm not sure if you've met her already today, but if you haven't, I know she'll make you feel elated. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day, distinguished Toastmaster twice, Sunny Fridge.
Thank you again. Thank you so much, Joni. Our meeting theme today is Smile for the Camera. And we'll find out what our word of the day is in just a moment. But I wanted to share a few fun facts about smiles. Did you notice that smiling can be contagious? Have you ever noticed that when someone smiles at you, they often smile back or you smile at them? Research suggests that seeing a smiling face activates the brain's mirror neurons, and it prompts us to mimic that expression. And I'll bring you a few more tips, but right now we have someone who is our official person who has our tip of the day. We'll kick off that meeting with DTM David Carr. Please help me welcome him with some great tips.
Thank you to our ray of sunshine for introducing me today. So I want to go over a few things in Zoom that you may not have found your way over to yet. Some of these are relatively new features. And I'm particularly looking at the layout section, which you'll see over on the side when you are going into screen sharing, right before you decide what you want to share. And I'm using share portion of screen because I have a wide monitor, and if I share the whole thing, it actually looks weird. But the point was really more these 4 buttons over to the side. Now, I think some of you are actually ahead of me on understanding what these different buttons do, because I have seen some of you use the side-by-side view where my face is still on screen and is actually fairly large on screen, but half the screen is taken up by my face and half of it is taken up by my content. But I have some other options. If I choose the second from the left option, I can go into this view where I'm in the corner. And so most of the screen is taken up by the content that I'm sharing, but I'm still over in the corner and you're not going to lose track of me. Now, there are trade-offs between doing this and using an external program, whether it's Prezi or AHA or a number of other things that have been mentioned in the club that we've had tutorials over time. The advantage here is we're just using features that are built into Zoom. And so this is something that everybody could learn. And also, actually, when you use some of those other tools, what you're doing is you're taking over your video feed, but other people in the club still have to, unless they switch to showing you full screen or the host pins you, they may not actually see everything that's going on, or they may see it in a very small area. Now, there's also this view, the one where I'm in front of the content. The one challenge there is that sometimes your picture can be in front of some of the things that you're trying to show. So this is sort of an over-the-shoulder view, and there are more options within that. Let's see. Actually, that's what I meant to be showing you. Is this over-the-shoulder view is my content is fairly large on the screen, but I'm off to the side and I'm separate from it. All right. So I'm actually going to go back to the standard screen share for just a moment so I can show you a video clip that I recorded earlier that, let's see, hopefully to keep track of what I'm actually sharing. I found these features actually horribly confusing the first couple of times I tried them because I wasn't clear whether what I was seeing was the same as what the audience was seeing. And I'm hoping this little video clip will help to make some of that more clear. So here I am this afternoon practicing this, trying to get comfortable using these features. And we see that we have the regular view, or we have the me over in the corner view. And there's this little drop down actually under that green banner. You can open that up to see what the audience is seeing that can help clarify whether what you're sharing is what you think you're sharing is what you're actually sharing. So here I'm switching from the me in the corner view to the over the shoulder view, and I have to click share again to make that change, but I can actually click the little pencil icon while I'm still sharing, and hopefully I'm keeping up some running line of pattern with the audience. Also notice that these things like my video square in the corner is actually resizable. All these things are resizable. And so we can go through and use one of these default layouts as the starting point and change it a little bit. And so here, if I lean over, you'll see that I'm still in front of the video. Whereas there's this side-to-side view where I am next to my content. And again, I can resize that because I want to be on screen, but actually there are some details in this screen share, this video demo, software demo, my slides that I want to make sure that you can see. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And these are all options that you have within standard Zoom. Now, couple of trade-offs. One is this is built into Zoom. And when you share your screen, you actually take over the main stage. And so it's a way of making sure that you're up front and getting attention. One drawback is that actually these different effects that you're sharing don't go into the cloud recording. They don't go into a recording to your computer either. So if what you're creating is something that you really want to be great on replay, maybe there's a trade-off, and maybe you want to use a Prezi or any of the other screen sharing programs that are out there. But if what you're trying to do is present and communicate to the audience that's right in front of you, this can be an advantage. Now, this is going to be available on replay, and some of the people who watch it on replay are not going to know what I'm talking about when I say, did you see the screen just change there? Because it's not going to change for them. But hopefully that little video clip will make it clear what I'm talking about. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, David, for those tips. I need to really try those advanced features out, but I'm elated that you gave us some tips, and hopefully we can one day see it on the replay. Maybe we'll have to do another recording and make sure that it's the speaker and shared view. I think currently we only do speaker view. Now, I'm elated to have a great team to help me run the meeting. I'm going to start with our timer. Carolina Ramirez, please explain your role.
Hello, everyone. As a timer, my role is to keep track of time for the speeches and evaluations. When I show the green card, it means that the speaker has 2 minutes left for speeches and 1 minute left for evaluations. When I show the yellow card, you should be aware that your time will be up soon. Only 1 minute left for speeches and 30 seconds left for evaluations. And when I show the red card, the red card, it means that your time is up. And be careful, because after this signal, you have 30 seconds to finish your speech in order to be qualified. At the end of the meeting, I will present my report for everyone. Back to you, Sunny.
Thank you so much. I forgot. It's now time to have our odd counter report. Carolina Ramirez, please welcome her back to the stage.
Thank you, Sunny. My role as a counter is to count the crutch words, the filler sounds, the awkward noises, etc. At the end of the meeting, I will give you my report. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Now let's welcome our grammarian, who's going to tell us a little bit about the word of the day and how we need to be when it comes to the King's English. Jim Barber, please give us your role.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I am elated to tell everybody what my responsibilities and opportunities are as the grammarian this evening. As the grammarian, I will be doing three things. One, I will be listening for exceptional grammar, exceptional uses of the English language. I will also be listening for egregious uses of the English language. And finally, I will be listening for enthusiastic uses of the word of the day, which happens to be elated. And so I will do all those things, and I will give a report at the end of the meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. I am elated that you are our grammarian. I'm also elated that we have a watcher, somebody who's watching me and you. Please help me welcome Joni Renee Laidlaw back to the stage. Joni, tell us what you'll be doing.
Well, as you stated, I'll be watching you. Wearing multiple hats, there are multiple me's, and as such, one me will be responsible for watching everyone to make sure that we present well online, and I'll give my report when called upon to do so. But remember, I'll be watching you. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Joni. And we also have a vote counter, which I love the way we do our voting in this meeting. Please help me welcome David Carr. Share your role and slow your roll.
We will be voting on a few things this evening. I think we'll have a vote for best speaker. We do have two speakers. We have some table topics as well, where we will vote on the best table topic speaker, best or most improved, whatever you want to call it. I will drop a link into the chat that you can click on to cast your vote. Please do vote. Guests are welcome to vote. It's nice if more than like 1 or 2 people votes, so that we can have a real election. Get yourself in the habit. November is coming for those of you in the US. So please vote. And that's it.
Thank you so much. I now know that we will have votes for 2 speakers. One speaker, our first speaker, is Joni Laidlaw. This is the first of our prepared speeches. Joni's speech will come from Dynamic Leadership Level 3, Project 1, Increasing Knowledge. Joni will examine how negotiations work. The title of her 5 to 7 minute speech is Negotiate the Best Outcome. Please help me welcome Joni Laidlaw to the virtual stage. Joni? I am not able to hear you, Joni.
The sunken cost fallacy. It's a phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or a course of action because they've invested heavily in it, even when it's clear that abandonment would actually be beneficial. Now, I know that everybody, when negotiating, understands there are different types of negotiations. There is win-win, where both parties come out with a win. There's win-lose, where one wins and one loses. There's a compromise, where technically you didn't lose, but you didn't get exactly what you want, so you can't exactly call it a win or a loss. But how many people know when it is time to walk away? I'll give you a minute to let that sink in. Most people do that if they have a backup plan or an alternative option. But what if you went all in? You gave your entire heart. This was important. It meant everything. So you poured and you poured and you poured until it was. How do you walk away when you've done all that? I mean, it's easy when you are negotiating and it's not that important. I mean, after all, if you walk away, it doesn't really matter. It makes no difference because you mitigated how much you would have put in to the overall endeavor. What happens when you, in your negotiations, you're choosing to compromise, but the person you're negotiating with is competitive and is going all in to win? What do you do when even what you started out in the negotiation, if you got that, everything you had to sacrifice in order to get it, even if you got everything you asked for in the beginning, it would no longer be worth it? Would you have to start the negotiation again? Then wouldn't that entail more sacrifices? And it's empty. There's nothing left to pour, nothing left to give, nothing left to compromise. Most people never think about the sunken cost fallacy when they go into a negotiation. And that helps for persons who are competitive. I mean, after all, after persons have given a certain amount, no matter what you ask them for, they'll keep giving. I mean, after all, they don't want to walk away with a complete loss. What do you do when you know it's time to walk away, even though you know you've given your all. When I went through on Toastmasters International, looking at the different types of negotiation strategies, I could think of times when there was a win-win. Win-wins are so easy. If you and somebody else want the same thing, even if it's a transactional relationship and you cannot stand a bone in their body, but you both want the same thing, you're going to win. You both want the exact same thing. But thinking about a little bit of compromise. I'm usually the person who is deeply empathetic and wants to understand your side. So even if you don't give me a reason, I'll probably create one for you. Remember, I'm collaborative. I'm going in for the best outcome for everyone involved. After all, I can only do things if it comes from my heart. And if we're going to collaborate, there has to be a reason why you haven't done what you need to do. I learned along the way, though, that there is a reason why the sunken cost fallacy exists. My fellow Toastmasters and our guests, if I can give you one piece of advice, it's no matter how much you've put in, no matter how much you're sacrificed, you cannot pour from an empty Pepsi bottle. When it's done, it is done. And when you're done, don't let all the time, effort, love, and yes, it hurts to walk away from something that you thought could have, would have, and should have been absolutely amazing. The stuff of legends, the things people write songs and sonnets about that would change the world. But sometimes the lesson that you learn, what you learn that changes your world, is that you cannot compromise with somebody who came in to compete. They have to win, and they don't care if it's at your cost and theirs, as long as they win. And when that happens, let me tell you, throw your hands up, say, you've won. Even if in your heart you know that they lost an amazing opportunity. And even if you have no backup plan, there's a thing that says that we stare so long at a closed door that we miss the window of opportunity that's open. Sometimes, even if it's just to stand in that dark corner, wondering, what do I do next? Keep in mind, you cannot win when you're being collaborative with somebody who is being competitive. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much. Yes, what an interesting concept. You cannot pour from an empty bottle, even if it's Pepsi. And I love that sunken cost fallacy. Now I'm elated to introduce our second speaker, DTM Andrew Bern. His presentation is 14 minutes. Andrew's speech is from the Effective Coaching Level 4 Building Skills, Manage Online Meetings. Did you know that the New Pathways program was introduced to the attendees during the International Toastmasters 100-year convention? DTM Bern was there, and he's going to share a video that represents this launch. And I'm not sure if we'll have enough time, but he's going to at least explain a little bit about whether we can be elated by these changes. Please help me welcome DTM Andrew Bern to the stage.
I'm elated to share with you something that was shared with everybody that was at the meeting. And that is that we are moving into a new system for the pathways. Most people were thinking this is never going to show up. Maybe be January, maybe be next year. But are you not hearing me, Joni? You're hearing? Okay. The question was,
I can hear. We're just not seeing the video. We're seeing us.
I haven't started it yet. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some of the key points that were shared with us at the meeting. And if you want to write it down, they're very simple. The first is that this is going to start in October. If you have a session that you've opened up, you'll be able to keep that until you finish it. The second point is that you will not need to worry about a two-part authentication of finishing off in Basecamp management and then going to Club Central to fill it out there. The whole thing will be in one system, the LMS system, and once you fill it out in the pathway side, it automatically fills it out in the Club Central side as well. So that's an improvement of what we've had. The next thing that you need to know is that the pre-test and post-test that you used to take in the old system has been eliminated. They have replaced it with what is it that you're learning, what is it that you wanted to know, and how you got there. So they're changing that aspect as well. And so now what I'm going to do is start the process and start playing it for you. And you can see what I'm talking about. There is going to be some background noise because this was done in an exhibit hall where people were watching and walking around and asking questions. Here we begin.
That interim page where you'll select your home club that you want to interact with or the Basecamp Manager dashboard. Instead, we drop you straight into the Basecamp dashboard just like this. So everything you need to do if you interact with multiple clubs or if your Basecamp Manager will live here. We're going to start at the Toastmasters.org website. You'll be logging into Basecamp just as today. So log into Toastmasters.org. Basecamp plan. One thing that you might notice is different is that it's no longer going to be that interim page. You'll select your home club that you want to interact with or the Basecamp Manager dashboard. Instead, we drop you straight into the Basecamp dashboard just like this. So everything you need to do if you interact with multiple clubs or if your Basecamp Manager will live here.
And that's one of the changes from where we currently are. Where we currently are is that if you belong to multiple clubs, you had to declare which club you were doing the project on to begin with, and then go into the project. Now you don't have to do that, but in the end, you'll tell them which club you want to get credit for.
We're going to start at the Toastmasters.org website. You'll be logging into Basecamp just as We're going to start at the Toastmasters.org website. You'll be logging into Basecamp just as today. So log into Toastmasters.org. Basecamp plan. One thing that you might notice is different is that it's no longer going to be that interim page where you'll select your home club that you want to interact with or the Basecamp Manager dashboard. Instead, we drop you straight into the Basecamp dashboard just like this. So everything you need to do if you interact with multiple clubs or if your Basecamp Manager will live here. And this is an example of someone who is active in 2 paths and has finished 1. Presentation mastery and engaging youth and finished dynamic leadership. Thing to note is you can go in and just with one click, you can go into your path. And if you've completed dynamic leadership or whatever you've completed, you can also click into that and see what you've done. If you decide to purchase dynamic leadership again, you'll be able to see both paths enhanced and completed and you. But over here to the achievements tab now. This is where you'll see your digital badges for path completions, level completions. And seeing if my video stops because the mouse is there you go. So in this example, we're looking at someone again who has finished dynamic leadership. That's when we see they have the path completion for that, and then also all 5 levels. We're in engaging humor and have received level 1 or finished level 1. So that's why they have that bag. So basically all of the grayed out ones are ones that are able to earn and all of the ones that still tell them is one that they earn. You might notice that if you mouse over a badge that you can share it to social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, things like that. What's that? Oh, mouse over it. You won't screen share, but you'll see it happen. You'll see it happen again here. The feedback badges are similar to the feedback badges you can give member to member within members of your club. So this is the courageous badge, and then you'll see it mouse over here. It's like just like that. If you've earned a badge,
Andy, we're not actually seeing anything change on the screen.
Function works, they like to share,
So are we.
when you share something on your phone.
Yes.
Say that again, David.
We're not actually seeing anything change on the screen. We're hearing somebody say, you can see this, you can see that, and nothing's changing. Is there more action going on in this that we should be seeing?
There is, and I've clicked share video, and it should be showing. Let me just.
It's like we're seeing the video, but it's only one frame.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not.
Maybe it actually would be better if you just sort of talked us through the remainder of the material that you think is important to share.
All right. So I covered a couple of the points in the beginning. The fact that every club officer needs to know how to do the base camp, because every club officer can be the base camp manager in a sense, because they're going to be intimately involved in all the stuff in the new program. They're going to start off with six programs. And I asked the question, well, what happens if they've already done one of those programs? You can start it over again, and it will differentiate those programs that you've done before and those that you're picking up now. So those things will also show up for them and be able to identify that as well. The other things that you need to know about is that I actually have a sheet, and I'll put it into your chat before the end of the meeting, of those programs that they definitely will be having and which languages they'll have it in. So those are the things you need to know about that as well. So I think that for the most part, the questions that most people had was, how are we going to deal with people with multiple clubs and how to get that credit in there? And they've answered that question on their sheet, where you can access multiple clubs and show all of them that you're involved with. The other thing that they said that you can do now is be able to track everybody in the club and where they are and get reports out on all of them. So that's also a change. So there are a number of changes that they've made, and I'm excited to see it come out as early as October. If you're in a program right now, certainly finish it, but don't worry, because the system will keep track of duplicates. So we know Graham, for example, has done all 11 paths already. And what is he going to do now? Well, he can do another one of the 11 paths he already did, and the system will identify that he's done this before and allow him to move, and it will track him as doing this path for a second time or a third time or whatever it may be. So he doesn't have to worry about that. It'll be an automatic process. And that's pretty much the main takeaways from the program. They spent a lot of time. They heard everybody's complaints, and they said they heard a lot of complaints about the old system. People that were really screwed by not having their BPE or base camp managers actually put in the appropriate marking for them, so that once they finished the platform, it wasn't necessarily put into Club Central, and therefore they and the club never got credit for it. So this will take care of that problem. And you don't have the issue of having to track down all the things that you've done or not done as you go for your credit, because the system will track that down as well. So this is now
Thank you.
short.
Thanks, Andy.
And thank you very much for that report and that sneak peek. I think it's my understanding that if you still are working on one of the 11 or the 12 paths, you can still do that and you will not be penalized. So that is interesting. Okay, yes. And that's one of the best things that many people will be elated about. Thank you again, Toastmaster Dr. Andy Bern, for the sneak peek. Timer report. Please let us know if our timers were over or under, or will we be elated that they were within time? Carolina.
Joni, 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Andy, 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Joni is qualified. Andy is not qualified.
Okay, well, thank you. I knew he was supposed to have up to 14 minutes, but yes.
Yeah,
he was
the
supposed to-
time bracket would be 10 to 14. So
okay.
All right.
Both under time.
They're both under, or they made time. I'm sorry.
Made time.
Within time? They're within time.
In time,
So,
yes, in time.
all right, so we will have a chance to vote for our best speaker. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to see if I can share one more fun fact. And what I wanted to share with you is that not all smiles are created equal. There are different types of smiles. Psychologists have identified various types of smiles, from the genuine smile that involves the eyes to the polite social smile that doesn't quite reach up to the eyes. Each type of smile can convey different emotions and intentions, adding layers of complexity to the seemingly simple expressions. So who knew what a smile can do? Well, now you do. So I hope you are elated. Now it is time for our next part of the meeting, and that would be table topics. It's when we get to think on our feet. So please help me welcome our guest table topics master, Michael Alexander. Please welcome him to the virtual stage. I keep forgetting to clap.
Thank you. Before I begin, this was inspired by actually Graham's comment that he was trying at the same time to work on his listening skills and table topics and wasn't quite sure how they fit together. And so before I start the traditional table topics, I want to talk to you a little bit about how table topics is actually structured and how listening fits into it. Most clubs will have a very traditional table topics structure. The table topics master will write the questions out well in advance, and he'll read them. Or in some clubs, they'll just put them all in a hat. He'll draw out little fortune cookies things, and there's no variation. You don't really need a table topics master at all at that point. However, some, in order to give you a feeling that you're seriously involved, will say, okay, Jim, pick a number between 1 and 10. And Jim will say 3. And the table topics master will pretend to pick question number 3. If it's me, I'm just going to read the next question in line and let him think he has some level of control, which works fine until we find out that the 6th person on the list says 3, as did the 2nd person on the list, and I get caught. At which point I usually claim, I realized this might happen, so I had a backup question number 3 in case there was redundancy. And people say, oh, what a clever table topics person he is. He thought of this in advance. Nah, I've just been trained as a juggler that if you're going to drop the ball, if you have a good line to cover it, people will say, oh, he did that on purpose. But I've got to tell you, in the real world, which is what table topics is fundamentally designed to teach you, life's a little different from these contrived situations. In reality, when I am in a business meeting, my boss has never yet said to me, so Michael, what color do you suppose Rapunzel's hair was? They ask a question about a radar system that's going into Thule, Greenland, and I'm supposed to be an expert on. And those are the questions I have to answer on the fly. I actually work as an expert witness. Now, as an expert witness, the lawyer, who is the table topics master, if you will, is asking a series of questions, and he has a story he wants me to tell. And depending upon what answer I give, he'll ask the next question to make sure I make the point he wants me to make. And that's a very different situation than the pick a number, pick a slip out of the hat. And that is a piece of table topics which I have enjoyed doing as a table topics master a few times. What I do is I have a story I want to tell. Now, the first time I did this, I had just moved to a new neighborhood and somebody lost their dog. The local email newsletter, people were talking about this dog that had been discovered. And so the story I told was about losing a dog and working with the people on the email list to find them. But I told the full story that I wanted to tell about losing a dog, what it felt like, how you got them microchipped, how you found them and worked with people. I didn't tell the story. Everybody in the group did. I would ask the table topic question about losing a dog, and someone would answer it. And that would build to the next question about what do you do when it's lost? And that would build to the next question about how do you keep from losing the dog by microchipping? So when it's done, I told the story I wanted to tell, but they told the story that I wanted to tell. A very different approach. Very good for lawyers, very good for people who want to be storytellers as they do it. It's similar, every now and then you'll see a trail tale where David will tell a story and he'll stop when the light goes on, and Andrew has to pick it up exactly from there. And when the light comes on, he stops in mid-sentence and Carolina has to go on, and we'll see where that goes. But if you really want to work the question of learning to listen, you have to get to improv. Now, improv means that I ask a question differently depending upon what the person before me said. I'm listening to what they tell me. And that causes me, just as they with table topics have to suddenly react to this question they've been asked, I, as the table topics master, have to suddenly react to the answer that I've been given. Everyone want to see how that works? Absolutely nobody is saying yes. That's kind of a frightening thought. But I'm going to pretend you said yes. So let's start off and work this through. It's time that we resolve one of the greatest arguments that have been going on for thousands of years. The question is, what is the best pet? Now, you've all dealt with your friends on this. You've all fought with your friends over this. And you know that relationships can break down over it. Well, my fellow Toastmasters, we're going to settle that right here, right now. Joni, what is the best pet? Is it the dolphin or is it the hippopotamus?
At one point in life, I would have said the dolphin until I did some research and found out they're actually quite psychotic. Though they're like us and they're actually smarter than us, which scares me even more. And by the way, why I don't like rats. Because though they're brilliant and stated to be more brilliant than us, they actually do very weird things. So the things in captivity that dolphins do that make us think they're cute, when they're in the wild, things like sucking on a blowfish to get high, or weird malicious behavior that's documented, make me not think they would make the best pets. But on the other hand, I know that a hippopotamus actually is a murderous villain in the water and on land. So if I had to choose between a murderous villain on land who can chase you and I can't run, I might have to take some lessons from Sherry, but I can't run, or a psychopath who does weird stuff, but they do it for fun. Hard choice, but I'll go with dolphin. Back to your table topics master.
I appreciate that. I really do. Sonny, I know that you work many times with people with psychological problems. I'm wondering, when was the last time you dealt with a psychological problems of the dolphins? And do you have any tips for dolphin owners?
Was that TV show Flicker? What kind of animal was he? Mammal was he? Was he a dolphin?
It was.
Okay. I never really worked with psychotic dolphins or challenges with psychotic dolphins, but ironically, in 2 days, my husband and I are going to Disney World. And while we are there for our anniversary, we're going to SeaWorld. And one of my challenges, or actually, it's not really challenge, I'm actually elated that we are going to spend a little bit of time at SeaWorld, but I'm not so sure whether or not we'll be swimming with the dolphins or even petting them, but we will get to see them. So I haven't really had any challenges, but I used to love to watch Flicker, and he always seemed so friendly to the people around him that if he had issues, fortunately, he had humans to help him. That's the extent of my challenges in working and dealing with dolphins. But when I get back from my trip, I will definitely let you know if there's any update, because I'll ask those trainers, how do you deal with issues? Maybe there's a boss dolphin, or maybe there's someone who needs a little more empathy. I do see that Andrew Bern in the chat said they can't get sleep or something similar to that. I wonder how a dolphin sleeps. I have no idea. So I will say, in answer to your question, I believe I heard, when was the last time I dealt with a problem with a dolphin? And while I'm elated to say I didn't deal with any problems, I have a good feeling about dolphins. And that's why they're going to be my mammal of choice or a sea animal of choice when I go to Disney World and SeaWorld. Back to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate hearing about that, and I wish you luck. I hope you have a good time there. We all know the dolphins don't have any legs, so sleepwalking is not something that they do an awful lot of. I do wonder, however, my dog wakes me up in the morning to go for a walk. Dr. Bern, would you tell me when the dolphin is going to wake me up to go for a walk?
Dolphins can be trained, and they have a good sense of time because they have a very special brain that's different from ours. We have a right side and a left side to our brain. The dolphins, because they need to be awake 24/7, because if they went to sleep, they would drown. So one side of their brain is kept active and awake at a time, and this goes through rotation of 8 hours, 8 hours, and then 8 hours where they go together. And in that 8 hours together, their corpus callosum, which is the bridge in the brain between the right and the left side, is active so that all the information that occurred while they're awake on one side gets transmitted to the other side, sort of like a computer copying drive A to drive B so that both drives are completely working on same information. So this is what I would say, that dolphins can be trained. They were very effective during World War II in seeking out underwater mines, identifying them, letting their trainers know, and they had a sense of timing. If you needed to have something done at a specific time, the dolphins learned that behavior as well. and they can let you know when to walk.
Wonderful information. But I've got to wonder if they have such a good sense of time, and I hear about watch dolphins all the time. Carolina, does that make you jealous that their timing skills are better than yours? Carolina.
Yes, the question is if I'm jealous that the dolphins has a better sense of timing than me. Yes, a little bit. What Andy said about dolphins made me jealous because they are so smart and they continue learning while they are sleeping. That's a very good gift, and they used to look for underwater mines. That's awesome. But however, I prefer a dog. A dog is near I think that a dog is more used to be with human beings. A dolphin has to be free, and I prefer to see dolphins swimming happy in the ocean and not working for human beings or doing some things that they are training for. Personally, I don't like to go to those parks when you see animals in a zoo doing things that they were trained for. So I prefer dogs, and dogs because dogs likes a lot to be with human beings. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you. I worry about dolphins all the time. And I particularly worry about going through the park and tripping over them. Now, Sherry, when you go running, have you tripped over a lot of dolphins? Or what's your technique for avoiding dolphin contact?
Hey, what? No. Well, I will say this. I'm listening. I hear you, but I'm not listening because I'm preparing an evaluation, but I'm going to still give you an answer. No, I haven't tripped over a dolphin while running. There aren't too many dolphins in Central Park. That's a famous park in New York City. So no, I have to admit, I haven't tripped over too many dolphins. I don't know if I'm on the right track with this answer because like I said, I heard you, but I just wasn't listening because I was preparing an evaluation. But I just think these questions are so unique and thought-provoking because it definitely has me on edge wondering if I'm giving a well thought out answer. I don't think I am, but I just wanted to go through the motions and still talk to you about these dolphins. Thank you. Back to you.
Erica, if we put you in charge of stocking the various pools in Central Park, would you bring in more dolphins for Central Park, or do you think they probably have enough?
If I was in charge, no, I would not bring in any dolphins, and I don't think that they have any, and I still would not fill the pool with dolphins because I can imagine that that would be expensive. And before I make a decision like that, I would like to check with the taxpayers to see if that is something that they would like for government to spend money on. Central Park is already a famous park. Not only will we have to bring in the dolphins, but we'll have to bring in the trainers. We'll have to bring in the food. We'll have to bring in the habitat for them as well. And all I hear is how much money it will cost the taxpayer. This is an effect of being in government. I work in government. So some of the decisions I make, I think about how it will impact the community and what the community will think about it. So no, I will leave the dolphins at the zoo, and I would encourage those that are visiting the park, walking, running, walking their dogs. If they are interested in seeing dolphins, then they can patronize the local zoo. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Well, certainly somebody needs to run an effective poll on dolphin management. I think that is one of the great and underrated political issues of our day. Jim, would you tell us what you would advise each of the two presidential candidates with respect to what their dolphin policy should be?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. But before I get into that, I have to note that frankly, I find this whole discussion of dolphins to be rather fishy. Now, some people are going to protest and say that, oh, no, dolphins are mammals, they're not fish. And that is true. However, if I were to say that this whole topic is mammalian, that wouldn't make any sense either. So I'm going to stick with the idea that this whole thing is fishy, and we're going to talk about fish, although they are not, they are actually proper mammals. Getting back to the idea, though, that is a dolphin would a dolphin make a good pet? You have to understand, put this in context. I live in South Florida, a little ways out of Miami. And when you talk about dolphins, you are talking about a football team that is less than stellar. And please, we do not want to have you make any of our dolphins into pets. We need every caliber, every pro dolphin out there on the field doing their best, because we've got a shot. Maybe someday we've got a shot at having a winning season, but we can't do that if you go along and people start adopting dolphins. Now, frankly, this worries me a little bit, because if you've thought of it, that means other people have probably thought of it too. They need money. They're always selling the name of the stadium. They're putting out logos everywhere. They're scrounging everything to make money. So adopt a dolphin as a pet is probably going to be the next thing that they're going to do to raise money. And that is not going to be good for the football team. It'll probably make some money for them a little bit, but don't do that. Dolphins are expensive. They eat a lot of meat. You don't want to go that route. I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins again. Don't want to do that. Frankly, you're better off with a hippopotamus. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
A point worth worrying about. But I've got to ask David here, because he is a known sports fan, what team really should change their name to the hippopotami, and why?
Oh, Mr. Topics Master, how could you do this to me? I was probably doing better with the dolphin thing. I was going to try and figure out some kind of pivot between Flipper and Gentle Ben. I believe some of you might be of the right vintage. I believe there was a TV show called Gentle Ben, which was about a family hanging out with a bear, which sounds like a pretty horrible idea. Probably gave folks bad ideas about how friendly bears were. But you're talking about hippopotami, which I understand are relatively vicious creatures as well. And so hippopotami, who could be the hippopotami among sports fans? I don't know. It seems like professional wrestlers might be better equipped to turn into hippopotami. Maybe not. I mean, professional wrestlers don't really have teams, do they? But a particular professional wrestler could declare himself the hippopotamus. And when he goes out into the ring, he could wiggle his belly around and look very hippopotamus-like and intimidate his opponents and go on to tremendous victories. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your insightful comments on pets. I really appreciate them. And I hope you've also seen, as I did this, how I took each person's response and generated a question based on it, and it changed the whole nature of table topics from drawing a slip out of the hat. With that, I will return the virtual lectern to Honey.
Hello, and thank you so much for that very interesting table topics and the interesting responses. But the more important thing is that, did you know that dolphins really don't smile, but they often appear to because it's the shape of their face and mouth and their inability to move their facial muscles like humans, but it creates the illusion that they are smiling. So that is interesting. They even appear to smile when they're dead. I'm not too elated about that, but they do communicate their feelings in other ways, like Flipper did through click, whistles, and physical contact. So when they're happy, they may squeal, not smile, but they may squeal like children. So thank you so much, Dr. Michael Alexander, for that entertaining topic. And now it is time, to find out whether everyone stayed within their limit. Timer, Carolina.
Everyone was in time, Sunny.
Thank you so much. And now it's time to get our paycheck. The evaluation part of our meeting allows us to test our listening skills, if we have any more listening skills after that table topics, and we will receive constructive feedback. So please help me welcome our general evaluator and maybe dolphin aficionado, David Carr.
All right. Well, when she wasn't trying to focus just a little bit on how to avoid tripping over dolphins in Central Park, Sherry Blake was preparing an evaluation of Joni Renee's Laidlaw speech. Let's hear from Sherry for 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for that. So good evening, Toastmasters and guests. It's my pleasure, as always, to evaluate Joni's speech. I want to commend her for delivering a thought-provoking and engaging speech. I was elated to be her evaluator. So Joni began with a strong opening, which immediately captured my attention. The structure of her speech was well organized, and the message was delivered effectively. So I'm going to provide 2 key areas. One is her strengths and areas of improvement. So my goal here is to help Joni build on her skills and continue to grow as a fantastic speaker. So first, let's talk about some of the strengths in Joni's speech. On the sunk cost fallacy, Joni did an excellent job explaining the concept of the sunk cost fallacy by giving examples and its implications for negotiations. Her speech was informative. For example, Joni asked the audience thought-provoking questions. For example, what do you do when it's time to walk away? And also, Joni effectively used relevant examples, such as a visual aid, to illustrate the impact of the sunk cost fallacy. So the prop that she used drove home her point. You can't get anything from an empty Pepsi bottle. So abandonment is recommended. I always say, cut the cord. So the example about an individual continuing to invest in a failing project because he or she invested heavily in something made that concept relatable and easy to understand the overall topic. So an area of improvement may be more visible gestures. So since Joni was sitting, her hand gestures are a little hard to see. Giving us a short, another example would be, I would have liked to hear like a short story, an example of when either she or someone else she knows needed to just throw in the towel or needed to, like I said, cut the cord and the benefits that came from doing that. So overall, I love Joni's speech. Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful speech topic, and always your enthusiastic delivery. You're always so joyful. I enjoyed your speech very much, Joni. Back to you, General Evaluator.
All right, thank you, Sherry. See, we didn't actually have an evaluator assigned for Andrew Bern because he was giving less of a formal speech. He was more sharing some information that he brought back to us from the Toastmasters International Convention. I'll just share a couple of my thoughts and then invite any other comments or questions if people have additional questions for Andy about what he presented. But I do think we need to be careful about sometimes getting so fancy with the technology that we get ourselves in trouble and we try stuff that doesn't work. Although we do also tell people that this club is a place to come and try stuff out, workshop some of those technology techniques and get better at them, which means that sometimes things might not work exactly as you want them to. I think, Andy, you have like a multi-screen computer setup. And so that could have been part of the issue, is that maybe the video was actually playing on a different screen that we weren't seeing. I guess one other thing that I would bring up too is that you started right into it assuming prior knowledge of pathways and Basecamp and how that system works, including some of the annoying administrative details on the back end. And in general, that's a pretty safe assumption with this club, but we do invite people to come visit us who are just trying to learn about speaking well in the online setting. They might have experience as doing a virtual class or something else and not necessarily be experienced Toastmasters. I know Erica, who's visiting with us, has served at the district level. We've got Steve Cohen with us, who we didn't get a chance to speak to in advance. I'm guessing it's probably a safe bet that he's an experienced Toastmaster, but you can't necessarily assume that. And even somebody who's been in Toastmasters for a while, if they haven't been in leadership lately and they haven't dealt with these back-end issues, they might not really know what you're talking about. So just try and set expectations and frame things there and give some introduction, assuming little or no knowledge on the part of your audience before you get into the details. Does anybody have a question or some other bit of feedback for Dr. Bern? If not, we can move on to the functionary reports, but I see a hand from Dr. Michael Alexander.
Yes, you talked about using a path a second time. Are they going to charge you for that? Because right now I have revisited my paths without paying for it because it was still open.
The paths will be open, but if you're taking them for credit and you've completed a path, you'll be charged.
Yeah.
I'm so parsimonious, the thought that I can pay to do the same thing that I can do for free is, but you can't run out of the tournament.
Yeah, well, it depends on whether your club officers decide to be enforcers, which I don't know if we necessarily do. Well, let's move on then to our other reports for the evening. We have a number of people serving double, triple duty. We had our counter, Carolina Ramirez, was also functioning as timer. I think you've announced what you need to announce about timer along the way, but can you give us a report on the counting for this evening?
On the here you can see the report. Congratulations to those who didn't have any filler sound, like Sunny, Jim, Sherry, Joni, Michael, Erica, and David. You had several rows today, and you had some great sounds or words. Your favorite is Be careful with that. Andy had some great sounds as well. 8 and 3 amps. And Sherry, you have only one amp here. and one when you were a table topic speaker. And our favorite scratch sound as a club is ah. That's my report. Back to you, David.
Well, hopefully along the way, something else came out of our mouths other than ums and ahs. So, grammarian Jim Barber, what did you hear this evening?
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator, listening for the word of the day, elated. I heard Andy use it. I heard Sherry use it. I heard Sunny use it. If other people used it, I missed it. I apologize. But everybody did a pretty good job. However, nobody can touch Sunny, who used it. I counted 7 times this evening. Whoa, Sunny, you have hit on it. As far as the grammarian's report, I want to focus on something that David said towards the beginning. He referred to our Toastmaster of the day as a ray of sunshine, which I thought was a great phrase for several reasons. Number one, it tied into our theme, which is smiling, but it also tied into the name of our Toastmaster of the day, Dr. Sunny Fridge. So our ray of sunshine was a very good phrase, and congratulations, David. I don't know if you planned it that way, but it sounded really cool. Back to you, Mr. GE.
All right. I'm elated to hear that so many people use the word elated along the way. Our watcher was Joni Renee Laidlaw. Joni, what did you see this evening?
All our lighting was good. We had moments where sometimes we had to come off of camera, but just a quick tip. When it comes to framing for me, unless there's something else in your background, it's best if you're in the middle, especially if somebody's on a mobile device and they move into gallery view, you might get cut off and they won't actually be able to see you. Most of us were in the middle, but just a quick tip, because David is slightly over there and our guest Stephen is slightly to the side as well. The reason why framing directly in the middle helps is that if somebody else is on an alternate device, you may be missing parts of you depending on where you fall on the screen. Back to your general evaluation.
All right. It's just because it's a political season and I'm leaning left. I can't tell which way is left. Anyway, our chat monitor, doubling up like many of us, was Sherry Blake. Anything interesting going on in the chat, Sherry?
Hi, David. Thank you so much. Yeah, there was a lot of dolphin chat in the chat. I saw some interesting comments, like Sunny said, dolphins don't smile, but often appear to. She's absolutely right. Look at that picture of that dolphin. That dolphin looks so happy. It looks like it's smiling, saying, give me a kiss. I don't know, but that dolphin looks happy. There was something else in the chat that I liked as well regarding the dolphins from Andrew. He said dolphins are very social. When they move in a group, their social group is called a pod. So the chat was primarily centered around dolphins. Thank you to Michael Alexander for giving us that topic to kind of like play with in the chat. Back to you, David.
Terrific. Let's see. Some overall comments on the meeting. We're almost at time. And on timing, I have to say, Michael Alexander, you gave a long and detailed introduction to your table topic section, but I was wondering, when is he going to get around to asking somebody a question? And so that was almost like a whole speech that was built in there. Madam Toastmaster of the day, would you like me to go ahead and share the vote winners?
Yeah, yes, please carry on.
All right, I shall do so. Let's see. So, let's hear from, trying to be fancy here. As I said, fancy doesn't always work. For table topics, our winner for today, I didn't put it in yet, was Andrew Bern. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, for speaker, Joni Renee Laidlaw,
Woohoo!
and for evaluator, partly by virtue of being the only evaluator, was Sherry Blake. And so congratulations to our winners for the evening. Back to you, Miss Ray of Sunshine, Mrs.
Okay, and with that, it's been an honor to serve as Toastmaster of the Day, and I would like to return it to our presiding officer, Joni Laidlaw, so she can check in with our visitors, our guest.
Thank you. Now, I was told, well, this is where I officially adjourned the meeting, and I'm going to ask you to stop the recording.